application, if that gets used by people, that could be the thing that gets us out of this, theoretically.
Yeah, we're talking about virtual chemistry, virtual biology, things in the memory of a computer that we cannot model with zeros and ones.
Yeah.
With zeros and ones, you cannot model a disease, for example. No way.
Exit the roundabout.
Quantum computers, that's why we build them.
Right.
Precisely so that we can model molecules of germs and understand how they operate. So yeah, we're talking about a whole new era. Now, however, I think the main impact of the internet has been to enforce democracy, that it is a democratic force, because people can be educated no matter how poor, no matter where they are, they can be empowered. Power derives from knowledge, and that's what the internet is all about. Now, of course, there's a downside to it, but in the main, I think it's positive. And I think quantum computers will accelerate that whole process.
I think so too, and I wonder if it will lead us to a better world, if it will lead us to a better understanding of each other, much better understanding of how not to destroy the world in terms of pollute the ocean, and solutions for cleaning up the plastic, and solutions for whatever issues we might have with power generation. When we can boil that down with a quantum computer and figure out much more efficient, cleaner ways to do things, all of the problems that we have in modern society with poverty, with disenfranchised communities and crime, all those things seem like they could be solved.
Well, in principle, yes, that's the
In principle, that's the best case scenario.
This will give empowerment to the powerless.
Yeah.
This will create more goods and services for humanity to raise the level of standard of living of even the poorest nations, and to be able to understand the nature of disease so that we can live longer and more fruitful lives, and in some sense become immortal, or at least near immortality, by being able to conquer incurable diseases. This is all within the possibilities of quantum computers. But for me, one of the biggest impacts is the dissemination of knowledge to give empowerment to the powerless, so that we can raise the standard of living of the entire human race.
What is the worst case scenario?
Worst case scenario is that dictatorships will try to get this technology to break other people's codes, to shatter the connections that exist between different nations and cultures, to increase divisions by chatbots. They can create nonsense. They can create all sorts of propaganda, because they just rearrange what already exists. A dictator could then write all sorts of different kinds of racist and sexist nonsense and have it spread throughout the internet very rapidly. So that's a problem.
So it's really important as to who gets it first.
That's right. And laws have to be passed so that we rein in some of these things. Democracy arises with conflict with incorrect ideas. That's where correct ideas come from interplay with incorrect ideas. But that could be ruined if people try to seize control of chatbots and the internet, to flood the internet with nonsense.
Who do you think is going to win this? Are you close to this? Are you following, or do we even know what these other countries?
Well, right now IBM has the lead, but it's like a horse race. The gate has opened, all the horses are lined up, and now they're taking off. The Chinese are leading in optical quantum computers using light beams to compute, and IBM is leading in terms of using electrical circuits as the basis of quantum computers. But it changes. Every few months there are different advances being made all the time. This is moving exponentially fast.
And how do we know where China's at? Do we have an accurate understanding of?
Well, they publish their results, and we can duplicate some of what they do. They're taking a different tact. They're taking the tact of using light beams, calculating on light beams rather than electricity. We're using electricity. And there's some advantages and disadvantages of both approaches.
That's fascinating. So we could come up with potentially two parallel solutions.
And maybe even more. Other groups anything quantum mechanical could in principle be used to build a quantum computer. And anything you see around you, plants, animals, we all are byproducts of the quantum principle. And so there are many ways of building a quantum computer. But those are the leading ones, using electrical circuits and using light beams.
How exciting this must be for you to have been that 17-year-old boy creating that particle accelerator in your basement, and now being at the verge of what is probably one of the biggest changes, or the biggest change the human race has ever experienced, and you're alive to witness it.
That's right. If I were to choose any decade or phase of history to be born in, this would be it. Because we're talking about the fact that, as children, it was black and white TV and vacuum tubes that exploded. It was a lot of nonsense back then. Now we're putting people on the moon. Regularly, every year we're going to send people to the moon. And we're talking about unlocking the secrets of life itself through DNA. So this is a great time to be alive.
It's a very amazing time for me. And how old? I'm 55. How old are you?
Just turned 76.
Wow, you look great.
Oh,
you really do. You look great for 76. So you're 21 years older than me, so you were alive long before the internet, and you grew up before the internet.
Mm-hmm.
I was about 27 years old the first time I got on the internet, and I'm so lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I feel so lucky to have grown up without it, and to realize, because I'm seeing it happen, what an immense change it is. Whereas my children are growing up having always been on the internet. It's just normal to them to communicate through cell phones, to be able to get on social media. That is a normal part of life for everyone today. But I and you can remember, and we can really truly appreciate, I think, how great a change this is.
Yeah, this is one of the greatest changes in human history. If you were to choose an era of time to be born, this would be it.
Do you ever put much thought into simulation theory?
You mean like the Matrix?
Well, the idea that one day there will be, whether it's through quantum computing or some other unknown, unforeseen technology that creates a reality, an artificial reality that's indiscernible from this reality, from the physical reality that we believe we currently experience. And if that's true, how do we know we're not in it already?
Well, to have a perfect replication of reality is impossible. Take a look at the molecules in this room. How many molecules are there? Oh, about maybe 10 to the 26th power. One with 26 zeros after it. And to model that many atoms with a digital computer would be impossible. So, in other words, the smallest object that can model this room is the room itself. The smallest computer that can model air is the computer itself. There's nothing smaller than this room that can model itself. Now, once you go to quantum computers, it gets worse. Because the quantum computer computes in parallel universes. Not just one universe, but many universes simultaneously. And so a quantum computer could model some of the atoms in this room, but not all of them. Now that means a perfect representation of reality is impossible. But an approximate simulation may be possible. But a perfect simulation is impossible.
But if we're talking about technology as we currently understand it today, in comparison to technology as they had available to them 1,000 years ago, what we can do now is insane. And if you're talking about quantum computing, which is almost available today, and then you look 1,000 years from now, couldn't you potentially imagine there could be a world where there's technology sufficient to do what we're talking about, to create a version of reality?
Well, if you saw the movie, we're all in pods, and we're all connected to a computer that simulates the Matrix. As long as you're simulating a piece of the Matrix, not the whole thing, but as you walk from place to place, the computer reassembles a replication of that place.
Right.
That may be possible.
Yeah.
Okay, but not the whole Earth, the whole with the atmosphere, the weather, and so on and so forth. But if you walk from place to place, if that little pocket of atoms is simulated, then yeah, that may be possible.
But what about in the future, if you extrapolate, like, you're not going to use, what is it, Moore's Law?
The Moore's Law, right?
Yeah, that calculates how much greater technology is every year.
Doubles every 18 months.
What if when you're talking about quantum computing, what if they use that to come up with something even superior to that? 1,000 years from now, could you potentially see a future where some form of life could create a universe?
Well, but not on atoms. Maybe subatomic particles. There are things.
Subatomic particles.
Yeah, but most subatomic particles are unstable. The electron is stable, the proton is unstable. But if you can find a way to stabilize some of them, then it may be possible to increase the calculational ability and then create a super quantum computer. But I'm speculating at that point.
How much time do you spend thinking about? Do you have to go soon? Do you have a flight?
Yeah.
Yeah. When do you have to leave?
6:30 or so.
Oh, you're fine. It's not even 3 o'clock yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at New York time.
Oh.
Sorry about that.
No worries. No worries.
Okay. Yeah. Go on.
We're pretty close to the end, too. Where was I? What was I saying? But I was saying that if you're looking at the calculations that we can make right now, and just the amazing progress we've made, it seems like if you keep going, you're going to. It doesn't seem like it's ever going to stop, right? So the potential for power, the potential for having an understanding and the ability to change and manipulate the universe itself, that seems like it's going to eventually be on the table.
Yeah, I've thought about that. I mean, the question is, at what point does it stop? We thought it stopped at the transistor, but now...
That's funny.
Yeah, right. But now we have 1 billion of them on a chip the size of your fingernail.
Right.
1 billion of them. So, nope, that wasn't a limit. But now we're reaching the atomic limit, so why not compute on atoms? But then what's smaller than an atom? What's smaller than an atom is the nucleus. The nucleus is smaller than an atom. Nucleus is 10 to the minus 13 centimeters. The atom is about 10 to the minus 8 centimeters. So the nucleus is a lot smaller. So these are nuclear. These are not nuclear devices that we're computing on. That may be possible. So an advanced civilization may have not an atomic computer, but a nuclear computer. Whew. And you have to be careful because, of course, you're dealing with nuclear fire at that point. There's a lot of energy packed in that nucleus, as you know from looking at Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
If I was an alien, I was going to come down and talk to somebody, you'd probably be the first guy I talk to. You'd be one of them. How much time do you spend wondering whether or not these things that they keep seeing in the sky, these things the Pentagon reports on, and all these people are studying, how much time do you spend thinking about that?
Well, I think about it because let's say there's a small chance, a very, very small chance that they are extraterrestrial. That could change world history. That could change everything. Everything we know about the universe could be altered instantly if we have some solid proof. And that's why I tell people that if you've ever been kidnapped by a flying saucer, for God's sake, steal something. Steal something. There's no law against stealing from an extraterrestrial civilization. No law whatsoever. And, you'll have bragging rights. And that'll settle the debate right there. An alien chip, an alien hammer, an alien pencil.
Yeah.
That would just end the debate right there.
Well, supposedly, depending on whose story you hear, supposedly the government is in possession of things along those lines.
Well, yes or no. I mean, I believe in data that leads to a definitive yes or no.
Yeah.
And here we have no data about secret documents held by the military.
Or secret objects.
Yeah, maybe not. But the proof is in the pudding. We have to see it, we have to analyze it. Before then, it's just hearsay and speculation.
Could you understand, though, how a government, if it were in possession of something like that, would want to keep it secret? Because the technology is so superior to anything that we have. Just like how we're in this sort of quantum computer race with China, and they have a different method than we do. What if they have a different method of back engineering these things?
Well, that's conceivable. It's a theory, but there's no hard evidence either way. Some people say that the fact that we have the microchip and the rocket ship means that we stole that technology from the aliens. Well, maybe, but you realize that if you're a scientist and you've been following these developments, you know all the dead ends, you know all the mistakes that were made, and then you realize it was a miracle that we came up with these things. It wasn't given to us. It was a byproduct of trial and error and whole careers that went into creating the microchip and the wonders of modern technology that we see today.
There's a vast paper trail.
Yeah, there's a huge paper trail, right? So I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm just saying it's not provable.
What about the idea that human beings are a product of accelerated evolution? That's the most fascinating UFO theory.
Accelerated evolution from what to what?
That we are
difference between us and a chimpanzee was A, the expansion of the brain, B, the dexterity of the fingers, and the vocal cords. So these are the three things that really stand out when you look at chimp genes and then human genes. And then you realize that, well, that's why we became intelligent. We can vocalize, we can share knowledge from generation to generation. We have an opposable thumb with fingers, much more delicate than the fingers of a monkey. And and we have eyes that are stereo, so that we can judge distance to the prey. So looking at it genetically, we realize that only 3 clusters of genes created us. So it's hard to believe that mating with an alien could have done that.
Well, I'm not saying mating. I think what the idea is, and obviously these are not credible ideas. This is just fantastic conspiracy theories. And it's also, there's a lot of really wild stuff. If you read like Zechariah Sitchin's work, he was a scholar in ancient languages that translated the Sumerian text, and he believed that the Sumerian text was all telling the story about how humans were a product of accelerated evolution.
Well, it's possible, but again, it requires one more step of substantiation. By looking at the internet, you see that there's a continuous line that goes from us to the chimpanzees to the primates, and that a few genes changed here, a few genes here, a few genes there, and bingo, you get a human being.
There's also some puzzles, though. Like the doubling of the human brain size over a period of 2 million years.
Yeah.
That's a big puzzle, right?
But apparently just a small cluster of genes was responsible for that, because that's just brain size.
Yeah.
So to increase the cranial size, it only took 1 or 2 genes to do that. Now, how the genes then create the brain, of course, we still have yet to work out. But as far as the size of the brain, it only took a few genes to expand the size of the brain.
What reason would the Neanderthal have a larger brain than us?
Well, a larger brain does not necessarily mean intelligence.
Right.
Because there are animals which have bigger brains than us. I think the porpoise, for example, has a very large brain. So size is not everything when it comes to intelligence. I think what's more important is the ability to see the future. The ability to imagine alternate worlds that don't exist. That's what the prefrontal cortex does. And that's what separates us from the animals. Animals do not have a time machine. We have a time machine in the front of our head.
Is it possible that that's just intelligence as we're measuring it in our ability to manipulate our environment, and that maybe the intelligence that the dolphins experience, because they do have a cerebral cortex that's 40% larger than human beings, that maybe what they're experiencing is a different kind of intelligence, maybe a communal intelligence, maybe some sort of shared telepathy or something that allows them to communicate in a way that we're not capable of.
Yeah,
a different kind of intelligence.
Right. But, my attitude is that what does intelligence do? Intelligence allows us to create a model of where we are with regards to environment, other animals, danger, and so on and so forth, and then the ability to see the future. That, to me, is intelligence. To understand what you're in and then extrapolate it into the future. That takes a lot of brain power.
Sure.
Animals can't do that.
No,
they create imaginary worlds that don't exist. And then on an MRI scan, scientists ask the question, if the brain sees the future, but the future doesn't exist, then how can a brain scan show you the future? Because it doesn't exist yet. When you brain scan somebody thinking about the future, they think about the past. They rework all the things in the past, and they make a few changes in the past. That's how they extrapolate it into the future. That's how we did it. Animals don't do that. Animals simply go by instinct. But what we do is we take the past, modify the past, and then let it flow into the future.
Well, that's what's so fascinating about giant leaps in technology. it sparks the imagination in such an incredible way. And because of you and because of your work, we really get to understand like what the real parameters we're working with here, what we're really talking about, what's possible.
Well, I hope so. That's one of the reasons why I do what I do. Some people say, why do you do this?
And you're great at it. You should keep doing it forever. Do you do things independently? Do you have a podcast of your own?
I'm on radio, so...
okay.
Yeah.
What station are you on?
Gee, I forgot. Go to my website. I do so many things, I can't keep track. But just go to my website, mkaku.org. amkaku.org.
You really do a lot of things. Like, how do you maintain your energy levels?
Well, like I said, I can't understand how some people are not energized by this. I mean, some people play golf. Some people do all sorts of sports and things. This is what I do.
Yeah.
Because it energizes you. You know, after a game of golf, people tell me that they feel renewed, they feel robust. This is what I feel when you talk to people. Because you're sharing your own excitement. You're trying to convey the excitement that you feel to other people.
Well, you do a fantastic job at it. You really do.
Well, I try.
It's always a pleasure to have you here. So tell everybody about your book one more time.
Yeah, the book is called Quantum Supremacy. Now, what is that? Quantum supremacy is a time when quantum computers exceeded the power of a supercomputer on certain very specified problems. We passed that point. We now have quantum computers that are millions of times faster than a digital computer on certain select questions. The next step is to make a general purpose quantum computer that works for any problem, not just specific problems. And that may take maybe another decade or so. But again, the stakes are enormous. We're talking about the world economy. Which nation is going to dominate the world economy? What technologies will thrust the world's productive abilities? That's quantum computers.
Now, when this does get implemented, what private companies are creating this? Are they working in conjunction with the government? Like, how does all that get controlled?
Well, right now it's a free-for-all. It's a horse race. It's a free-for-all. The horses are out of the gate. Basically, it's a few key players: IBM, Google, Honeywell, Microsoft, the big boys. They're all jumping in the game, investing billions of dollars to create their version of the future. And the Chinese are right there with their parallel version, using optical means rather than using electrical means to do calculations. And they know the price is not there yet because, of course, they're not operational for general purpose problems. But they know potentially what the price is, and that's to be able to dominate the world economy.
Now, what's the worst case scenario if one of these American corporations, let's just say Microsoft, let's say if Microsoft wins the race and they develop some sort of functional quantum computer that just blows everything else out of the water, they essentially become like a superpower.
That's right. Remember when IBM dominated everything, and then Microsoft comes along, a bunch of teenagers come along. Everyone thought these are a bunch of teenagers. What can they do, right? And then these teenagers took over the world. So we're talking about something on that scale. That's a company that can make a breakthrough to make a workable, general-purpose quantum computer. Who wouldn't want to buy one? I mean, you're talking about a runaway bestseller at that point.
Yeah, well, also, the power that's attached to that is so enormous that anyone wielding it has unprecedented power.
Yeah,
I mean,
remember the PC before Bill Gates and company?
Yeah.
The PC was a toy in museums, basically. I mean, it was something that you showed your friends, but you couldn't do anything with it, right? And then comes Microsoft. We showed, no, we can do things. You can do your income tax, you can do spreadsheets, you can do this, and then it just took off.
Yeah.
So we're at that stage now where the computer is still not ready to be used for general purpose calculations. But when it does happen, we're talking about virtual chemistry, virtual biology. Everyone's going to want to jump in the game.
Do you think that preemptively some laws should be put in place to sort of regulate this?
Well, I think some laws may have to, because, of course, this is potentially earth-shaking.
Yeah.
The CIA, of course, is well aware of the potential. The government is on seminars on what to do when quantum computers become commonplace, and they're already making recommendations. So for the post-quantum era, they're making recommendations to how to prepare for the happens if all the codes are broken? I mean, sometimes this happened in the past. We're still here. It wasn't doomsday, but it does affect the progress for war. During World War II, we broke the German code. It was a computer that broke the German code, and we knew exactly what the Germans were going to do before war actually broke out in certain areas, and that saved thousands of lives. And so that was a situation where that did make a difference. But in the main, nations steal secrets from other nations all the time, and we're still here.
For now.
Mm-hmm.
For now.
Right.
If we don't blow ourselves up.
But it could be commonplace with quantum computers. Stealing from nations could be commonplace. Now, there are ways to thwart a quantum computer. There are ways to get around it. One way is to have a dual system, two systems on the internet. One system based on electricity that all of us use, that are subject to hacking, and the other layer based strictly on laser beams, a laser internet. That would be a way such that anyone who taps into it illegally would immediately alert people. People would shut down that part of the internet immediately. So that's a possibility that people have talked about, a dual internet. One internet for governments, for big corporations and banks. They would pay premium price to have an invulnerable internet. An internet by the laws of physics can never be broken. And everybody else would use the ordinary internet.
Would that bother you though? Like, I don't want corporations to have unlimited computational
Well,
power.
they're paying for it.
Well,
I mean, what can I say, right?
right. But the power that comes along with something like that too, like when you said laws, like, well, who's writing these laws and who do these laws benefit?
Well, laws will have to be passed, just like with chatbots.
Right.
Laws are going to have to be passed, just like freedom of speech is great, but you cannot say fire in a crowded theater.
Right.
So laws will have to be passed to regulate chatbots, and laws may have to be passed to regulate quantum computers as well.
Does it bother you that these laws that will have to get passed will get passed by people that probably don't even have a comprehensive understanding of what's possible?
Yeah, that's possible. That's always the nightmare. And the fact that ultimately politicians will have to carry out people's will.
Right. It's not going to be guys like you passing these laws.
No, it'll be people that have to, get votes to get reelected.
Yeah.
And God knows what kinds of issues they have to harp on in order to get reelected, right? So that's a danger that the politicians may mess things up.
Well, I can only hope they bring in you to have a conversation with them about it before they do something stupid.
Well, let's hope the scientific community has a say. We want to see it at the table. We're not going to make the decisions, but we'd like to influence the decisions.
Well, that would be the best way to do it. But do you think that even the scientists or the physicists can have a real understanding of what is to come? It's just educated guessing, right?
It's hard to say. When the transistor was invented, people thought maybe it would be used to signal ships at sea.
Yeah.
They didn't know what the transistor was used for. Now we realize it changed society. Human society changed because of the transistor. But we didn't know it at that time.
Well, listen, again, it's always a pleasure to have you here. You're a national treasure. I really believe that.
Well, thank you.
You're such a great communicator with this stuff, and it's so exciting. And I'm going to listen to this back and forth and try to figure out most of the stuff you said. Quantum supremacy, how the quantum computer revolution will change everything, and it is available now. Did you do the audiobook?
No.
parents passing, and just different things that have happened personally in my life. Because I know when I was on here last time, I was talking about the career and this and that, and all these different things, and a lot of those things that happen to us as people and people listening aren't who we are. It's kind of things that have happened to us that we become angry or become sad or we become depressed, but it's not who we are, because who we are we start off with it as innocent babies. We go into the world and all these fucked up things kind of happen to us, and the stuff with my family and the store and my mom, I'm not just a whatever guy. I'm not Donald Trump. Even though probably underneath it he's probably fucked up, but I don't have, but as far as things,
turtle shell.
yeah, I have this emotion. I got that from my mom and my dad, and it's hard. You know what I mean? It's hard. But so I feel pretty good, and it's difficult. But I want to look into the future, my next 30 years, and I just want to try to be joyful, and my thing is half full. A lot of us in life, we always look at other people, and we're always like going, like I can look at Adam Sandler, I can look at all these guys that are just, or I can, look at the fact of what I have, and I'm not the only one. I think everyone should, think about that, because especially like you said with social media, everyone compares themselves, how many people are watching, how many people.
This episode is brought to you by AG1. The supplement industry has gone crazy. And with so many powders and pills and vitamins, it's hard to know what's what. I get asked all the time what I would take if I could only take one supplement. And the answer is, hands down, AG1. AG1 is a daily foundational nutrition supplement that supports whole body health. It's a science-driven mix that replaces all those multivitamins and probiotics with one simple drink. It's not some whole regimen that's overwhelming or confusing. Just a scoop in a glass of cold water every day and you're set. It couldn't be easier to start feeling better. I drink AG1 every day because it's a way to get the nutrition I need that my body can absorb and use effectively. I know you're going to love the way it makes you feel. Order now, you'll get a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting AG, vitamin D3 and K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/Rogan. Start building your health foundation first with AG1.
And all that shit.
That's so fucked up for kids, because they're just constantly comparing each other's likes and who's got more followers, and they're all competing against each other. And then you hear about these kids that are like YouTube stars that are 14, 15 years old, and they've got millions of followers. Like, what's the youngest YouTube star that has like a giant following? These kids are essentially getting like
TikTok's toys. His mind was like 7, and he had like.
Oh yeah, that guy's that's insane.
Maybe he's 10 now.
Yeah, that guy. That's insane. That little kid probably can't go anywhere. Imagine him trying to go to the park. All the little kids probably freak out. Where's the toys, bitch? What'd you do with the extra toys?
Yeah, but what about you? I mean, you've really like. I've seen it. Everyone has seen it. You've just really. How do people get to you? It's difficult. No, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, how do you, like, for instance, like, you don't have a booker on this show.
Well, I do, but
you do.
I don't like it. I choose.
Yeah, you're the booker.
Yeah, but it's not like someone like picks the lineup.
Yeah.
And then I go over it with them. No.
So, like, for instance, like, Nicolas Cage is my next door neighbor in Las Vegas. Like, he's a friend. I've known him for many years. Like, how would he get to you if he would be on the show?
I'd love to have him on. I love that guy.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I saw a video they did about his house in Vegas.
Oh, yeah, 60 Minutes, right?
Yeah. He's awesome. I love that guy. I met him once a long time ago at a boxing gym.
Yeah.
He was there with his son. His son was taking lessons at this boxing gym that I used to work out in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
So
But it was a weird one, It was like, whoa, that's Nicolas Cage. Just hanging out in the boxing gym.
So how do people like that get to you to get
Like
on
this.
this show? Just like this?
Like this. He texts you, you text me, hey, what's
Okay,
up?
right. That'd be
Nice
great.
to meet you.
He would be great on your show.
Yeah, he'd be awesome. He's a fun dude.
He's fucking,
With that Nicolas Cage movie, what was it? What was the actor? I don't know
I think you'd be great on this. So if I know any people that I think that you would like,
yeah, definitely, please do.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's a weird thing to have like this sort of show.
Yeah,
but I gotta keep doing it the way I've always done it. This is the way I've always done it.
This is when you started in the basement with Red Band, right?
Well, we're in
you were on your couch, right?
On my couch, and then we moved to. I had a spare bedroom that I converted to an office. So then we converted my office into the podcast studio.
Yeah.
So it's half my office, half was the podcast studio. It was like so rudimentary.
It was so like Wayne and Garth, right? Just like in the basement.
It was, you know what it was? It was the response to, I always wanted, I loved the hang of being on those morning talk shows, but I knew that nobody would ever give me money. And I probably wasn't good at it anyway. Like podcasting is like anything else. I think you get better at it the more you do it. If you go back and listen to my early ones, it was terrible. Just you get better at it. And I think that what we missed was like the Opie and Anthony hang. You do the Opie and Anthony show, it was a bunch of comics just sitting around talking shit about things. It was so fun.
So do you ever prepare for your interviews?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh really?
Yeah, depending on who they are.
Right, so did you prepare for this?
No, no, you're my friend.
He's like, fuck
I don't
that
have to
guy.
prepare for you.
It's just gonna
like,
fuck.
I have to prepare for things like
Like scientists and things like
if,
that.
if someone's coming on to discuss something really crazy, like I really have to pay attention to what the questions are that I can ask.
Right.
Like we had Michio Kaku was on yesterday.
Michio Kaku.
Do you know who he is?
I heard about him. He's a scientist. Right?
Yes, he's a quantum physicist, and he was on discussing quantum computing, and it's so.
I can't even open my laptop.
It's so above my head.
Yeah.
It's so above my head. It's so hard to. He's like. He's so smart. It's like he's like hanging out with toddlers. Like when he was 17 years old, he made a particle collider in his garage.
I don't know what a particle collider is.
It's miles and miles of copper tubing, and it sends something through it. And he photographed antimatter in his garage with this device. When he was 17.
Wow.
Like, that's a different kind of human. 17, you were hanging out at the store. 17, I was in Newton, Massachusetts, like being a moron. Like, this guy was making a particle collider in his basement or in his garage. It's crazy. There's people that are just, they're so much smarter than you in different ways, right? Like, I don't think he probably wouldn't be a great comic, but they're so.
So you had to do a little research for it.
Yeah.
What's it called? Michio Kaku.
Michio Kaku. But some even more than that. Like, it depends on whatever the subject is. Like some people, I want to read their book first and then have them on. Let's have questions.
Yeah, and then as far as living out here now, being in Austin. Austin is very, I don't want to use the word liberal, but there's a lot of hipsters and people with skinny jeans and stuff. Is it weird being, because I don't want to say you're red or you're not red, because I don't fucking know. Most people think you're red. Yeah. Is it like you're red living in a blue city in a red state?
That is, this is a blue city, but I'm not really red.
That's what I don't think either.
No.
Yeah.
I've never voted Republican in my life.
Right.
I think that both systems suck, and I think that what I'm pushing back against is the crazy ideologies. It has nothing to do with universal basic income. It has nothing to do with welfare. It has nothing to do with funding community programs and cleaning up cities. Like, I'm all for all that stuff. I'm even for higher taxes if I believe the government was competent with your money. I'm not. Yeah. Like, higher if it's higher taxes and it proves that we have less crime and the world's a safer place, that would be great. But that doesn't seem like they know how to do that. What seems like when you give a lot of money to the government, they create a lot of government jobs, and those government jobs make those people a lot of money. We looked into the homeless situation in L.A., and it's my friend Colion Noir told me about this because he's a lawyer, and he went to San Francisco. When he was in San Francisco, he was talking to someone. He's like, why haven't they fixed the homeless thing? Is it like a funding issue? And the guy was like, no, it's the opposite. They make so much money.